ABC Central Coast and talk about life imitating art. This was an episode, remember On the Buses with Blakey? This is an episode from the old TV series On the Buses, which was hilarious, still very, very funny, about toilet breaks.
They have to visit the little house, sir. Good. The girls have to pay, you see, sir, and consequently they want a public loo allowance. I knew you wouldn't like the idea, so I told you. No. I quite agree. Eh? I'll make the necessary authorisation. You don't want to do that, you think of paperwork. You don't want that bother. I won't have that bother, Blake. It was your idea. You get on with it.
Well, love, it's no more than you deserve. It's about time you girls had a complimentary what's it?
Mum, it's a supplementary public convenience allowance.
Well, that's what I said. Here, how much will you get?
Well, it all depends. You have to put a claim in for the number of times you've been.
Ah, well, you're going to do very well out of that.
So, a funny look at a serious problem. Central Coast bus drivers are going to protest, or are protesting as we speak, over disgraceful facilities. More than 25 drivers will highlight the substandard facilities for drivers at Gosford and Woy Woy stations by establishing their own rest area outside the station with milk crates for seats and a bucket for a toilet. To have a wee break, it's very difficult. Orbs from the TWU, good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Gee, it's tough, isn't it?
It is, mate.
Have a wee.
Yeah, well, it's just getting beyond the joke, really. I mean, pardon the pun with your little sketch there from On the Buses, and it was quite a funny show, but unfortunately, this isn't a funny subject at all, because it's actually real. Our members have set up a makeshift meal room at the Gosford railway station, and it's really just in the hope that we'll draw some attention to an ongoing problem where we've had for many years now an inadequate toilet and meal room facilities for drivers.
Can they close up the bus and head down to the platform or something? Is there any short-term way to help them out? Because this is just basic human needs, isn't it? People have to have these sorts of rights. I don't know how you work without these sorts of facilities.
Well, you would think, well, to the first question, is that's what they do. They actually do use the rail facilities, but we're talking about a couple of toilets for, in excess of 400 services in Gosford alone. Now, you're talking about another 100 at Wyong, where there is no facilities. Woy Woy has toilets, but nowhere to eat, and those sorts of things. So this has been an ongoing issue. And the second point that you make, I support as well, and it is, we shouldn't have to be talking about this in 2014. These issues have been raised over and over again, and we've had quite a few commitments from various politicians over the last 10 years that this would be corrected, and quite simply it hasn't been. And it's just not good enough.
So we're talking about that area at Wyong and Gosford and Woy Woy where the buses line up and wait for the trains to come in, or to even provide the train services quite often. Is that what we're...
Yeah, that's part of it, but there's also other services because of the problem, drivers are forced to use public facilities in various locations, and as we all know, some of these public facilities are quite often being vandalised. Sometimes they can actually use the toilet, but they can't wash their hands, for argument's sake. Other times they can't use the toilet at all. There's been reports that drivers have been told by management of the bus companies to go and use McDonald's. Well, I'm not sure how McDonald's management would feel about that, but look, the bottom line is, mate, it's just absolutely ridiculous that in this day and age we've got men and women of the community that are providing a fantastic community service, sometimes under a lot of pressure dealing with the public, and just aren't able, the government in Barry O'Farrell and locally Chris Holstein are basically denying some very basic facilities.
But it's not just this government of the day. I mean, these facilities weren't there under the previous Labor government as well, were they?
Correct. That's correct.
So what do you need? What has to be done? Are there plans to fix this?
Well, in the interim, we're looking at potentially having a place such as a shop that I understand is in around near where they park. There's a vacant shop with toilets nearby. Drivers have suggested that potentially that could be used as an interim measure until some proper facilities are built. And that should be well and truly funded by the government. It's a government service they provide. So there is some interim measures that could be taken up.
Maybe you could walk up to the local member's office. There might be a public facility there.
Well, maybe that could be part of our next strategy.
Yeah, but
maybe we should be telling drivers to go and use their facilities and see how long that lasts.
But this temporary solution with the offices nearby, that seems quite doable, doesn't it? I mean, that's wouldn't cost a great deal and would certainly give you relief, pardon the pun, until something better is sorted out.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, that's an idea, but these sort of things have been thrown around again. I'm going back 10 years since I actually, I'm now the branch secretary, so I oversee the whole branch and have other officials that work in the area, but I actually worked out of the Gosford area when I was an official, and these sort of ideas were raised back then, and I'm going back 10 or 11 years ago. So once again, talk is fine, and coming up with the ideas are fine, but we need something, regardless of whether it's a Labor or Liberal government, but in this instance, it is a Liberal government under Mr O'Farrell. And, he needs to sit down and work out a solution to the problem that's going to be long-standing. I mean, we're only talking about toilet facilities, the ability for people to wash their hands, and be able to take a rest break, a well-needed rest break, away from the public. In a basic standard facility. We're not talking about a 5-star catering service. We're talking about basics, very basic.
And this is where they park the bus, lock the bus while they had their break, is it? These spots at the station. So they're not actually on the run. The bus will wait there until it's scheduled to go again.
Absolutely. I mean,
and they get a scheduled break at that time at that spot.
Yes. And look, I mean, in dire emergencies, if someone, when you got to go, you got to go. But I'm sure that's only minimal. But yeah, we are talking about people having access to proper facilities, basic hygienic conditions. It's really not too much to ask. You would think so in 2014.
And would these facilities be built around the coast? Where do they need to be built?
Oh, well, they need to be built around where these people take their breaks. Our members are saying, why on Gosford? Gosford's a big issue because, by and large, there's the bulk of those people stop there for their meal breaks. But certainly there's no reason, we can't see any reason why there can't be something facilitated by the government for permanent lock-up rest areas and provide basic toilets and some clean amenities so that people can have their meals in peace, in clean environment, and then get back to the job, and they all do a fantastic job. They deserve it.
Yeah, I must say I caught the 63 into work the other day, and it was a beautiful, clean, new bus, really comfortable, very, very nice, air-conditioned. I mean, it was a lovely way to travel, actually. It's a little bit of a convoluted trip, as the routes sometimes are, but the bus itself and the driver, immaculate. It was very good. All right, so what do you rate your chances on getting some sort of facility at least started, or something temporary while it's being started? It seems like a pretty reasonable sort of thing to ask for.
Yeah, well, we've got thousands of members in the Transport Workers Union members in the bus industry, and for their sakes, we're not going to let this go. We need to continue to push the issue, and hopefully someone will see some common sense and actually put some plans in place that are going to work, that are going to be sustainable, so that we don't have to keep revisiting this ridiculous situation.
And Duncan Gay, the Transport Minister, seems a pretty reasonable, caring sort of bloke. Is he listening to your problems here?
Well, I haven't had any responses that I'm aware of from Duncan Gay, but we're certainly looking forward to responses from any walk of life as far as the political end of things go, because they're the ones that got to fund it. It's taxpayers' dollars. It's a public service. for God's sake, give them some basic facilities.
What do they have in places in Sydney where the buses have to pile up and wait, where the drivers take their break and have a wee break as well?
Oh, well, I don't have a full comprehension of what happens in Sydney, but obviously this problem would be widespread. I'll probably leave that up to the people in Sydney to make those.
But do they have these facilities there?
They have facilities, that's for sure and certain, but once again, you know, it's a geographical issue, I guess, when you look at it in that sense. But when we've got drivers that are stopping at the same place for the rest breaks, that are scheduled stops and scheduled breaks, and don't have the facilities, well, obviously, you know, there's a lack of attention being provided to actually provide those basic facilities, and that's what we're pushing for, whether that being, obviously in this instance, we're talking about the Central Coast area, which, by the way, just in sheer numbers, Central Coast, I think, are only just behind the Maitland area in being the fastest growing rural areas or country areas outside metropolitan Sydney. Now, this has been a trend that's been occurring for once again, you know, over a 10-year period, as I understand it. So why are we not catering